There we go. Can everyone see my screen?
I can. She's blank.
It's blank. Good.
Henk,
Mostly.
How does it feel that about 5 minutes ago I was leading this stuff and you were supporting, and now suddenly you're leading your own work stream? I love that volunteer.
It's called being empowered.
What? I just said I'd like Henk to lead, and magically you lead.
Oh no. Anyway, thanks for trusting and guiding me in that, Rob.
No.
Okay, so I tried to set up a mural board quickly, but it's going to take too long. Sorry, I was going to...
Aren't they already created? I thought they've been created for us already.
Apparently, we were supposed to create them ourselves, which was news to me, which has caught me totally unprepared.
You'll just do quick introductions. I don't think I know Chris, or I think I'm aware of Tehran, but I actually don't know who everyone is. So I'm going to put video on. Apologies. Start there. Hi, Chris. Okay. I'm Rob. I work on the product side. Henk works with me. So,
hey, how's it going? I'm just here to kind of help you guys through Zoom. So I'm on the technical side for the meeting.
Okay, good.
Okay, and then we've got Desiree.
Oh, hi, everyone. I'm Desire. I work with Innocent and team in economic empowerment, and I was just interested to join this topic.
Wonderful. Nice to see you here.
Thank you.
And Tehran?
Okay, I come from a company called NextGen in India, and we are looking at putting a bridge in between for the Moja Loop, the partner backend, service backend, and the customer. So we have with us the SIM overlay. We have NFC contactless payment solutions for merchants. And we also have the soft POS for EMV transactions on Android devices. So looking at building a bridge for the Moja Loop partner services and the customer services using our middleware. So that's why I wanted to understand, how do you do customer onboarding and DFSP onboarding?
We don't at the moment. That's part of the challenge. It's a very manually intensive.
I wanted to build a bridge. So that's why I'm talking to Moja Loop and the team in Nairobi, team in the US, and also the team in the UK, that I build a bridge and just give it to everybody. Do what you want.
Okay, that's a touchy subject. Hi. Okay, then that leaves me basically open. I'm Henk. I work with Rob and the product team on Motorsbox. And yes, you might have seen the presentation we did. So that is something that's quite close to our hearts. And we've got quite a bit of a desire to actually get something implemented, at least the POC side of it, to move forward to see what we can do, how we can do it, and how we can best basically put a face to the company that can be marketed and used all over the place.
Henk, do you want to send me the mural? I'll start building it whilst we're going, because I think it'd be better if we've got that. If you've got a link, you can slack that over to me.
Yeah, let me just stop sharing quickly. Because I think it's just happens when you've got too many screens open. You don't know where you are eventually. Okay, it's got no number to it, Rob. So I've just basically signed on or signed in.
Have you signed into Mural?
Yeah, let me show you quickly. So that's where I got to. So
that's Power Noodle, not Mural.
Okay.
That's the voting.
Yeah, no, I haven't created a board at all yet.
No, but have you got the link for the board for Mural?
No.
Okay, let me reach out to Sam then.
Let's see if we've got one. Great.
Yeah. Check my email. Here we go. Planning board. Got it. No, that's the session. Miro. It's Miro.com. P11 board. Okay. Use Google. Yeah. Agree to be. No, I don't want news and product updates. God, why is everyone sneaking those in nowadays? Let us bore you with millions of pieces of information you never ever wanted in your life. Okay.
Okay, we're just trying to get everything going, set everything up.
Everybody can sign in. You should have received a PI11 board link from miro.com/welcome on board, H0L4, lots and lots of numbers. When you go in there, that's where you'll find it. So we don't have to create anything. There is already a board. If you've not got it, I'm going to put it into the Slack chat. Apologies, it means you have to copy from Zoom. Unless our lovely colleague tells us there's a better way of doing it. It's in the chat, so everyone should hopefully be able to link. Yep.
Excellent.
Just use your Google single sign-on, Henk, and Desire, and Tehran, just log in or whatever mechanism you wish, but that's what we use. And then, Henk, if you want to, there you can see portals for onboarding at the bottom, about midway down.
Okay, just signing in quickly.
And then we can all add, but if you share your screen, Henk, then we can all add our own boards and things of what we think are key stories. That we will spend 10 minutes just creating key stories each of what we think are key things that we're going to have to build. I think, Tehran, for the key thing here is that we're looking at is that there's some finishing off the work on the framework and what the tools will be, and then into potential delivery. I think one of the key elements that we're going to have to work around, Henk, is going to be on the user add-in. There you are, I can see you now. User add-in and management of DFSPs. So as you user account creation and its onward management. How do we enable a third party to add users that work for them? There we go.
Okay.
Cool.
Wonderful. Let me just kill this one here. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I think the idea is on this is we've got to basically start writing a couple of ideas that we want to do, and then you obviously have the sprints over here. I think there should be 6 of those. Come on. Nope.
Yep, doesn't matter. They're up there. That's fine. There should be 6.
So we also at the end of that need to do the PI objectives and highlight any risks that we've got. And we need to provide a confidence vote on how possible it would be to actually achieve and do what we want to do there. So if we can just start actually writing a couple of notes in the sense that we need to get an idea of what we're going to do, what is important, and just add them, and then we'll organize it a bit later on and spread them through the PI. Okay. So I think the most important thing here would be to look at some stage. Okay, Rob is already busy there. Hi, Jonas.
Hello.
I'm just going to quickly introduce myself so you know who you're talking to. I'm Henk. I work with Motorsbox on the product side with Rob. And we are just basically looking at the portals and the onboarding process that might be associated with that and how we can use those portals. Rob, you've obviously met before, I think. I don't know if you quickly just want to introduce yourself so we know at least where you come from and who you are.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I joined the EM community strategy team a while ago, and I just had a look at some of the sessions, and I thought this one is an interesting one. I want just want to find out a bit more what's the latest thinking and so on, because it's obviously an important topic.
Absolutely. I don't think you can be any more right in what you say, because at the end of the day, that is what the people see as the face of a company. Irrespective of how much they've got, that's going to be very important. So what we're trying to do is basically get on, you can see my share screen, obviously. We're trying to actually just get some ideas of what we need to do. So write some objectives over here. Then we're going to put them in here. And we'll then organize these through the sprint. There's 6 of these. And once we've done that and we completed with that, what we have to do is we've got these last 3 blocks here, the PI objectives, the risks, and we need to provide a confident vote on how we're going to be able to do that and what's going to be possible or not possible. Any risks, obviously, we need to put it there, and this would be the objectives of the PI.
Just realised I'm putting my stuff in the wrong line, so I'm going up.
Yep. Okay. So
at the moment, I'm just dropping in post-it notes. I'm not putting them in any order. So, Henk, if you want to move them around, feel free. It's yeah.
Okay, so anyone is welcome to actually add anything there, and decide what, and then we can basically have a discussion, organize it through the sprint, obviously what you need to do first, and then as it progresses, how you can complement that, and then basically reach a final objective. Okay. Everyone familiar with how this works? So you would create a sticky note. And you can just grab any color there. I see Rob is already using yellow, so you're welcome to use yellow. You would drag it over here, and you would then basically just add some content to that. And this is the catch where everything doesn't always work the way it's supposed to do.
Professor Rob and Professor Henk.
When did I get a degree, let alone a professorship? Thanks.
Oh, you're not tenured, man.
I'm only a lecturer. Rob is a professor.
You're less. Oh, that's not an appropriate thing to be saying on a public channel.
That's all got a way to go.
Oh, my gosh. Anyway, guys, I just wanted to drop in and make sure you had what you needed, and it looks like you are already underway. So this is awesome. I wanted to add some color to that comment I made yesterday about the Jamstack. It's really a fancy way of saying serverless web, basically serverless web apps. There's still a server. It has to run an API, though. It doesn't have to be a web server. And that's, I think, the beauty of it, which is exactly what you brought forward in your presentation. It's what I understood. To say, do this stuff in the glass pane. Don't do it in the. Don't create some magical ops server that has to be then maintained in addition to actually having an API. So what Jamstack does is it gives you tools to do that stuff offline. It's actually not, well, you'll see that Jekyll is one of the things that's listed. I think that's a pretty rudimentary and early form of this. There's much better examples, like Next.js is a really good example. I'm not familiar with the React stuff at all, so I'm going to be happy to learn about that as you guys evaluate your shortlist.
So that's one of the things that, thinking that through in terms of getting that shortlist and getting just general consensus, I'm assuming we'd want to go to the DA with that, with a positioning paper on why that choice. We want to do that fairly quickly. I'm just mindful that, Henk's the most technical between the two of us. I understand the more the product side than I do the tech side. So is that what the recommendation would be?
I mean, I say if I could speak for the TGB, I don't speak for the DA, but that we would be looking for a rational strategy to adopt this very good idea, to implement this. And that as we do all of these things, the basis for which we build it should be open source. So if we're using a platform, it's an open source, a free and open source platform. But given that it's going to be deployed into a production environment by potentially commercial companies adopting Mojaloop or national banks that need enterprise level facilities, you could make the case that something that is a community edition or open source, but then has a set of enterprise features that might be of some value to that community, that could be worth understanding. We just don't want to get trapped with something that the switching costs are too high if it turns out that the economic formula was too restrictive for use. So that would be one area that I'd want to understand. I think it's perfectly fine if the DA is presented with, and likewise the TGB, but if the DA were presented with, here are the top two, well, basically here are the 5 we looked at, and here's the top 2. And honestly, either one of them would work for us. Here are the trade-offs. And then the DA kind of works its way through what it thinks is the right plan. And the TGB is kind of gets the same readout, but in a finished form.
Okay.
The TGB, just to remind everybody, like the TGB is not, it's not replacing the DA. The purpose is for it to really apply the mission alignment and guardrails. So what I've just mentioned about switching costs and being careful about dependencies on commercial software will be one of those items. The other, of course, is the appropriateness of the solution and the project plan to the different environments we expect Mojaloop to be used in. National grade systems as well as commercial systems. I don't see any reason why the strategy wouldn't work in pretty much any sized environment. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
And I love the micro F. What do you guys call it? Micro front end?
The micro front end. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's exactly what we're trying to do, is to see, well, it needs to be open sourced. There's a lot of products out there, but they're not necessarily open source. And there's a lot of them that would provide a open source flavor, but at the end of the day, if you really want to get the proper functionality, it's still a paid for product.
That's right. And that's what I want to be cautious about. But you should tell us that. So say, look, everybody would said, why aren't you using XYZ, .com product? And you could say, well, we love the product, does everything we want. The trouble is that you can't use it unless you pay a $20,000 per seat license, or something.
Yeah,
so that's okay, but we want to know that. So it's like the reason why we're not using X, Y, or Z is because if in your evaluation you find that there's enough commonality in approach, though, that different solutions could be adopted by implementers and it would still work, meaning that you're doing an API-driven approach and you have an open source version of the glass that connects to that API and has all the controls on it that it needs, but that somebody else could come along and say, yeah, I don't want to use that. I'm already using, XYZ.com product and I have a site license for it. I want to use that. Then it would be very clear that they could simply take the HTML, JavaScript, CSS goodies and adapt them into that new environment in whatever widget strategy they have in that new environment. So there's a separation between the API and the surface area that you present.
That's exactly what we're doing. So you've got the front end, and then that will interface into the API, and that API will then interface into the rest of the core system.
That's excellent. And you definitely then have a role-driven API. So as people have to authenticate themselves to the system, they acquire the ability to activate certain APIs, and the front end system will make that pleasant if they don't have to write credentials rather than simply crashing. But the point is it wouldn't matter if you didn't have it at all. You're a hacker and you just got the surface area API and you said, I'm going to bang on this thing till I get in. Good luck with that. If you don't have a token, it's not going to do anything. And if your token is inappropriately permissioned, you won't be able to activate certain things. Like if your token was, I can watch stuff on the screen, my role, but I can't start settlements. Then if you found the settlement start button and built your own JavaScript for it, it wouldn't do anything because your token doesn't enable that. That's kind of my understanding of where you guys were headed. Did I get that basically right?
Yes, you did. I mean, the front end is just a front end, and based on what your credentials is, it will expose to you what you can do. So I don't want to have a little grey out button there because you don't have access. I just don't want to show that button at all. So you shouldn't know functionality that's available if you don't have the access.
That's excellent. The other thing that I wanted to bring forward, I had written very early on in the cycle, maybe 4 years ago, a document on permissions, and it's still around. It's in the discussion documents area on policy and permissions. And one of the things that's captured in there, other than the completely obvious stuff that I simply wrote down for completeness, was the notion of a synthetic role. And a synthetic role is one that is combined from the credentialed participation of 2 or more participants. So if you said, for example, I can kick off a backup as a admin, and I don't need anybody else's help, I can just go kick one off. But a restore requires 2 different participants, one operating in one role and another operating in another role. Then they would both have to come together during a sign-on exercise in which a synthetic role token was generated that says that we now have the consensus permission to proceed with some action. And it's a bit of an advanced function, but if you start looking at how you do OAuth tokens for everything else, it turns out not to be so hard. It's mostly the front end part of how that token is created, what its lifetime is. And if you require the continuous logged in participation of the contributors to that combined synthetic token, then you have to have a way of noting when they disappear. So you can actively cancel the token. But it's some thinking around that is probably required. It may not make the first cut on this, which is fine. But it's something to think about.
That's rather advanced because in a big corporate that I worked with before, we actually used to do that. So if you have a production incident, you would get a token that is valid for only for that session, and you could put a time limit to that as well. But you're allowed to sign on with a token onto production, and then that becomes an audit trail as well as what you're doing.
That's exactly right.
What you're talking now.
Yeah,
and then when it signs out, that token basically expires.
No, that's exactly right. And the token itself is the synthetic token is generated. Well, it's a synthetic role, and the token that's received gives access to that synthetic role. But that it is synthesized from somebody sitting in another role. And of course, you can also say it has to be a certain individual. It doesn't matter what role they're in; it has to be that person. That's another example of it. But no, exactly what you're describing. That you log in with this magic token, and the token's good for. You can only log in during the window of you have the next 90 seconds to log in, or 5 minutes, or whatever. And once you're logged in, it's only good for an hour. And once you log out, you can't log back in again.
You need a new token. That's actually something that Rob's quite passionate about, and you can either look at it as a 4i principle or the 6i principle.
That's exactly what I'm looking at too. Is saying let's not limit it to saying it's 4 eyes. Let's say that it's a thing around synthetic roles that the rules for constructing those roles are independent. And once you've done that, then it's just OAuth tokening to access the APIs. Sorry.
Okay, that sounds really good, but that is a bit, but maybe just a tad advanced for what do we want to do. But I do believe we can build something with that in mind.
What I think at this stage, the thing is for you guys to think holistically about it. And I'm glad to hear Rob's passion about it too, because we need the 4 eyes principle in an operations setting. We can't say, well, it was hard and we'll get to it later. There are going to be certain things that simply require it.
It's one of those tough, it's hard to get over it and get on.
Right.
Sorry.
And I think it's when you think about it, for some of the switches that are not, and I'd be thinking of an organization like Mowali, where they might need to delegate permissions to someone to carry out an activity, it might be a relevant and useful capability to have, even if not in this initial part of work. But it's actually come up severally when the operations teams need, for example, someone to look at some logs or look at financial data and execute an activity on behalf of someone else when they have full permissions for it, or carry out different activities like releases and so on. So there's certain access they need temporarily for resources that they would not ordinarily have access to, but that it would be important to have an audit trail on while they had that access. I hope that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, and that you would add then, in addition to having a synthetic role, which is a permission set that is only available when there are multiple individuals available to construct that synthetic token. You have this other case, which is I'm already logged in, I already have something, but somebody else is able to elevate my privilege under some terms. That's another use of almost the same functionality, and I agree with that completely. That this is the refund override key at the cash register, right? I'll let you check out all day long on your own, but if you need to give a cash refund to a customer, you need a manager's approval. They come over with a key and unlock that feature. It's only good for one time. So this is similar to that, where you're doing something that is sufficiently dangerous to the system that it needs to be 4 eyes. So I'm glad to hear that Mowali is thinking about that at that level. So it sounds like there are really 2 different tracks here. There's the API work itself, which is that also part of what you're looking through here? Or is it just
at the moment it's the portal framework, but once we've got the framework, we then need to start adding DFSPs, and that's where the API harmonization really kicks in. I think what we need to do is first pass. If we think that we're going to take the operations API, redo it, I'd rather we redo it before we go too far ahead with any form of portal that does operational functions. Because the rework could be messy.
Yeah, and I think the really, from all of this permissioning and front end stuff that we've talked about, the API doesn't really change. It's just that it needs to be role driven, so that that there's a set of ACLs associated with each of the actions that can be performed that's sufficiently granular that the policy statement can be issued somewhere. I don't know what form that's going to be in. I don't know if there's a policy language for this that you guys have looked at, but there probably has to be something that says this role can do this function. And then having done that, there's a set of front end stuff around how people are assigned to roles. That's an administrative function that is probably also part of the API set. And then it does actually kind of sound like all front end from there. How do you log in and acquire tokens? How do you then represent the actual outputs of the system? And how do you take control inputs from authenticated users? So there's an interaction there for sure. And by the way, there's only one PI. So you got to figure out what's actually doable at time.
Well, yeah, that's my biggest concern. There's a lot to do here, but unfortunately, we've also got a lot to do. A lot of this is going to happen on the tip side anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, a C or C is the Spanish saying yes or yes. There's no other option. We've just got to get on and knuckle down. So
Fair enough.
It's real logic, but creating some form of framework will definitely help.
Okay. Well, I mean, if the framework is looking at this part, which is what do we need to do this lightweight front end, the micro front end strategy, and be able to flexibly assemble the operational tools that implementers need, then that will generate a list of technical debt on the API that also needs to be reflected through some structure. And it sounds like from this discussion anyway, the only two I'm identifying are the API changes we've just mentioned, and the permission hackling stuff, and then the ability to log into the system and authenticate yourself to it to acquire these different roles, these role types, some of which are, as you're pointing out, are advanced features that might end up roadmap, but that we want to be thinking about as we design the system. And of course, there's a policy expression to this whole thing that is probably also roadmap, but has to be considered pretty soon. I think that what I had said when I wrote the policy document originally was there's really two kinds of policy. There's slow-moving policy that you want to make it very hard to change, and you put that in code, and you sign the code, and when you run the code, it's either running the correct thing or it doesn't run. Some things like we don't support direct debits on the system. That's the slow-changing, hard-coded policy. And then there are other things that are faster-moving policy, which are sitting in configuration, not in code. And other things that are simply operational choices that might change during the day, which are very fast-moving. But all of them, I think, have a common base on them in the system. Anyway, I should get out of your hair, and I'm gonna.
No, that is appreciated. I've got thoughts, and I put some of those stories already onto the board. So thanks for that, Miller. It is appreciated.
Okay,
you're the more technical one amongst us now. So
definitely, I think we'll pass the professorship on to
you. Over to you. Thank you for joining.
I only want that if I can use the lounge.
Coffee's awful, so please help yourself.
That's right, the donuts. And
well, public gatherings are limited at the moment.
Well, thanks a lot, guys.
Okay.
I'll see you. I'm going to jump to whatever it is that's next.
Thanks,
Miller.
So I've got a lot of things here, Henk, that I'm just throwing in. I'm going to...
Okay, there's quite a bit that you've actually thrown in here, Rob. Thank you.
Yeah. What do you think I do for a job?
You throw stuff around.
I throw things around, that's it. Nothing else. I don't do anything else. Nothing meaningful.
No. Then you make sure they stick.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So that's your portal framework documented and then going to the TGBDA. You've got 4 weeks, Henk. Well done. Good job you've already started that. So I think socialization of the existing stuff we've done, just to get it flushed out, and any challenges, consent, or anything else that people have got, giving people a window to comment, and then locking it down. I think we can move fairly quickly on that, so I'm not too worried. That's why the finalized, that line is there for that reason, because it goes from there into, it's now all documented. And documented, and this is a milestone aligned.
Okay, by documented, you mean that we've actually passed the DA and the technical boards and those type of things?
No, that's amongst. So for me, that documentation is. Let's say Taron has a view on that. We shared the documentation with Taron. He's gone, that's stupid. We've had time to discuss, debate, adjust, aligned. Yeah.
Okay.
So just so you're aware, we've been doing a lot of work internally in Modusbox already. I think these Moduloop style guidelines and white label options are going to be a little bit more difficult. I think we've got some of those, but we'll need people from outside to start saying, look, the standard look and feel for Moduloop is like this. The standard look and feel for Modusbox we've got very clear. we need to know what is the standard look and feel for Moja Loop, and go from there. The framework, as far as I'm concerned, needs to include the hierarchy that we're proposing as well. I think we shared our first draft of that with everybody yesterday, so we need to just give people a chance to comment and feedback on that. So the framework includes the tooling and the hierarchy.
And a way to make it, and I'm looking at the area where you're hovering over Rob right now. On the left, there's something about predefined rules.
Yeah.
There'd be a need to look at permissions in a way that's granular enough to allow that one right there. So there are organizations that would have fairly initially maybe thin resourcing, and others that may have a very structured organization. Those roles and permissions would need to be flexible enough to adjust and be modified to work for different organizational hierarchies and structures, is what I was thinking. And then secondly, there's the question of workflows and how those can be adjusted if that was required. Is that something, or is there a one size fits all type of workflow for different processes?
I saw what was proposed originally on 4I's principle, and I don't like it. I want to do a bit more design work with that with Henk. If I look at the maker checker, you make it, that whole page is then moved to the next person to authorize. If I look at the CVA, the create, verify, authorize, not all the data is entered. And yet that 6I's principle has different rules and different things. Those are actually quite complicated. I want to make sure that we've got somebody putting some design thinking into those. And that's where I agree with Miller. Doing those up front is critical. And that's why I'm putting in the first 2 sprints, knowing how I'm going to add my users as a hub operator is fundamental.
Critical.
What does that design look like? And then now I've done that, how do I permission the admin of a DFSP to actually have, and what rules and validation do I have in place there? I can start as an MVP and say, we are not checking that you're using the same email address and password for every single maker or checker. That is your responsibility, Mr. Admin. In the future, we could add that rules and structure, but not in day one.
Okay.
So that hierarchy of rules, and for example, in Swift, your administrators cannot perform the tasks of a creator and verifier. They're different roles. Somebody can cheat and have multiple roles and have multiple tokens, but technically they should be different people for the segregation of duties tasks by forcing that path.
Okay.
So it's the enforcement we'll do later. What we've done once we've done this is when we do DFSP onboarding, there's 2 streams specifically for that. So at the moment, this is a how do I add somebody? Then whatever comes later, I've got a security framework I can bolt onto. Yeah, but
fully agreed.
Functional later is now I've got something. What is my next? And this is why I'm going to move to the right. Now I've got a security framework I can lock into. What sort of things do I put into there? So which is more important, DFSP management or DFSP? In the DFS and the OAuth token validity and possible caching, if you can log in, have you still got the link, John, for this? If you can log in and add what you think stories would be in that front, that'd be perfect. Have you got this link?
No, and that's no, I don't have it. Let me see.
It's in this. You may have joined the chat after we shared it. I'll reshare it.
Thank you.
And if you can add some things there, but things like certificate management and and all those sorts of things, no, I see those as sitting. I'd like to know, Taron, from an onboarding perspective, and Jonas, and have we lost Desire? So I'm looking to the right because that's why I've got two screens and you're all over there while my board's in front of me. Have we lost Desire?
Yes, sadly we did.
Sad, okay. Because I was going to ask, what do we think should be the first? Should it be how to add a DFSP to the hub? So I have a portal where I can say, this is their name, this is their NDC, this is their whatever the base configurations. Should those be my first outputs, or should we do them later? So it's those sorts of questions. So does anybody else have a view of which is more important? Adding, John, you do from a using the hub perspective, but does anybody else have a view before we let John just tell us which his biggest pain point are, so we can focus there first?
I think if I listen to the conversations, I think the onboarding is definitely a big pain point at this point in time.
Hang on, but I'm going to challenge onboarding. Onboarding is painful if you have to do it lots of times. The only people who have to do it lots of times is the hub operator. Every single other person only does it once.
It's very painful for the DFSP as well.
Okay, but what does that mean, and how does that, do we simplify that activity in the payment manager and the payment hub discussions, which are, if you scroll down, I think further down to the left.
Mm-hmm.
So where's that gone to? Performance? No, it's not on there. There's no, oh, it's not in there. It didn't make it. Payment manager and my FOSS payment hub. Okay, I'm going to put a pull-out section here. Yeah. Okay. Okay, because that affects the priorities of what goes into this next, in this post, this section over here. You'll see that I've put guidance. Once we've got the mid-PI check-in meeting, we've got approval and the guidance documentation. I'm thinking of a Vanda type document here. Okay. A Vanda or a Fiona type document. Is that in September? Fiona will hate me, but...
you haven't introduced her yet, and she's already being...
All I'm going to say is purple turnips, and that's now in a public domain, and everyone's going to go, what? She's now definitely going to hate me as a boss.
Okay, I'm just looking at this. Well, she hasn't had a chance yet, Rob. Give her a break. I'm looking at this one, and I'm looking at the finalized, this framework. It's pretty much a duplication of each other.
No, one defining the rules, the other's implementing the tech stack.
Okay, so verified BOC, these two.
Yeah, those two are linked. That's why I put that one first.
Okay.
Do we do that as validate? Because we've said...
Yeah, validate.
See, in my opinion, what we do over here,
where are you? I can't see your...
Are you locked onto the board, Tara?
Yes,
I couldn't go on the board. I couldn't come on the board, so it's making me go in loops for try some here, try some there.
What's off the board? I can see this little arrow pointing to the very bottom. For some reason, you've gone. According to me, Tehran's actually off with Halisha right off the bottom of the page. I've scrolled down to where you're meant to be, and you're not there. So, not sure what's happening with your mouse.
I'm on the board somewhere, but it's showing me a very small screen. It's showing me.
If you zoom in, have you got what have you got? Yeah. A Mac or a
Windows?
Windows. Okay. If you scroll in and out, there's actually on one of the view options.
It's here at the bottom. It's got it.
There's a navigation option.
Okay, there you go. Got it.
Yay! We have you.
Yeah.
Here we go.
See,
all nice and blue.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
if you want to add
now
something,
here,
then
I'm going to
just
add over here master DFSP account, and also, okay, let me edit this out over here. Edit. Okay. Not duplicate. Auto.
do you want to add a sticky there?
Yeah, and I also add, it means a lot to add the credentials for access levels. Can I give you my experience of working over here?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was thinking more the user credentials for access levels as the next tab to the right-hand side, that one there, this one. Okay,
so then we bring it over here then. We bring it over here.
Yeah, because what I was thinking is that what you would have, so just to give you the best, I explained the other day, the best experience I've seen was from SEPA. Swift is nasty. Swift tries to make you do everything and understand lots of variables and configurations that literally you have no idea what they are from day one. And there's no guidance on what those things are meant to mean, which means documentation on user accounts and credentials, which is why I've added it early in early Henk, because that becomes nasty fast. But what I'm thinking there is that if I'm user Robco, apologies for being, I'm going to go to Toronco. I'm going to call it Turon's Turon, because Turon is a lovely meal from Spain. So if you've never had some, I would recommend it. So Turon's Turon company is added, and Fred is added as the master user. Fred now needs to set up the rest of Turon's Turon company to actually get into those details. So that's where I'm putting I'm going to add my own users as a DFSP, and the name's wrong. DFSP master account holder. So I've had my account created in this box, and now I can go in as myself and create my own credentials. I don't want the hub telling me what I can and can't do. I want to do that myself.
Now one more point to add over here is we have multiple kinds of users in all these applications. We could have a platform administrator. Okay. I could have, under my platform, I could have multiple hosts.
Okay.
Okay. Now under my host, I have multiple users, which could be either a customer who's, see, in a payment, we have a push and a pull.
Yeah.
Okay. Now a customer can be pushing a payment and a merchant pulls a payment.
Okay, in level 1, it's always push. They can push a request to the user to confirm, but they will always be a push. Okay.
Yeah. So we, when we do similar creations, we have either a push account or a pull account. 99% of pull account is either a merchant.
Okay, but that's on the DFSP side. So that's sitting away from the hub. So within the hub, you would have, I'm just saying, who can go into which portals and which things, and what things are they allowed?
Then you're correct over here. You're correct over here.
Okay. So no. I think your point is really important, and Henk, I'm hoping you're capturing that, because we need to be able to document and articulate that very clearly. So one of the advantages we have with new people joining is they have a view in their mind, and the first thing we have to do is help them understand where we're coming from. And if we don't do that, we lose people. So I'm pleased you've raised those, because that's the sort of stuff we need to just flush out.
I can, if you really want, I can sometime next week, I can really run you through a platform we have created like this using the, in India we have the India stack.
That would be great, because then we can get a real view of your requirements.
An actual user view, an actual user setup, how we do it up using India stack. If you want right now, no, I can't do it right now. I don't have access to my platform.
Okay, let's not do it for now. I've put it onto, if you go scroll to the left, I'm not sure if you can see my comment.
Left, I can do that.
So scroll off to the left, there you go. I've got a little comment. You see it? Look
there.
up. Yeah, yeah. Click on that.
There we go. Can you see it?
Cool. Excellent. We'll make sure we get that because it's part of that input for the other portions. Okay. Anything else? Okay, so looking over here, so mindful of that, now we've got to start looking at this next PI on the right-hand side. The second half of the PI, starting to add functionality.
Okay, now also when you have to onboard a DFSP, you have to give him the channels he can use and not use.
Yep.
So let's put that also in your first block. You know, add a master div and also the channel authorization.
Okay, define channels in your context, and I'll then put
okay.
the right.
Okay, let me take for example, I'm a merchant acquirer. I want to acquire merchants out. Okay, I will get access to A is the ALS service because I have to do account lookup.
Yep.
I have to do account lookup for both the merchants as well as customers whom I get payments from.
Okay.
Then I have to use, and I authorize from my merchants or my customers the channels they can, you know, route the payments through. Because when I have an account lookup service, I say I want to pick up money from account A or my wallet B or my bank account C. So my input routing has to be authorized by me. I just can't go and pick up account from, you know, money from anywhere. It creates issues, it creates errors in the service operation. Then it makes a customer service, it then leads to a customer service call.
Okay, but what you're saying then is when you set up roles, you need to define what access that role will have.
Yes, yes.
So this is where, okay, so.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example.
No.
I'll give you an example.
I hear what you say.
Pardon me?
No. So I'm thinking about how we give people access on the mainframe. And it becomes quite complex because you can say they're a developer, but the developer can only have certain accesses or certain things. So you'll have allocations to say that this role is a developer, but this role for this developer will have the following access.
No, for your DFSP onboarding, because he can see, he basically controls money flow from a point A to a point B. The money flow is always linked to what the customer has access to. If my customer A doesn't have access to a channel A, I can't provide channel B to him.
So I think what we're doing on this one is clarifying roles and access rights framework, because we just need to have a framework we can hook things into. So I've put that. I'm not sure if the color's right, but that's that to me is a design task we need to go through. And I'm going to turn it green, the same as the validate operations and API, as a color.
Yes, role based.
Yeah. So we need to clarify the roles and access rights framework. We need, we've done a lot of this work already on Mawali, Henk, so we just need to extend that and make that a shared framework that people can say, yep, buy into that, and they know what's happening where. If I think through what I'm thinking, I can see in my head a really nasty web portal coming to it. I want to avoid that, which says this is the role, and you've got no idea what that means. But we need to create that guidance and framework, so as we build things in, we're making sure we're putting the role-based access in from day one on each of the pages. So we would have
Okay, can I do you a favor? Can I open? I'm just accessing a framework here. Wait. DK exclamation.
I've just changed it a little bit, and I put clarify roles and access right framework and initial page design guidance. Page design security guidance. It's probably the right.
Can I do a small input here? Can I show you my screen?
Please add post-its, because we can always merge the contents later. It's the if you want to put something.
I want to show you a portal of open banking.
Oh, you want to stop sharing? Stop sharing your screen.
I'll show you my screen. Yeah, I'll show you open banking. So you'll see exactly how it could work out. It could work out how.
I just tried to find this little button to stop sharing. Give me a sec. There we go. Okay.
Okay, let me share my screen here. What happened? It went off. Ouch. 9 MR dollar.
That's not going to work. There's a 9.
Yeah, 9.
The 9. There's a 9.
There you are.
Excellent. But that's the sort of So you've authenticated.
Yeah. So this is an open banking portal from in India we use for this open banking APIs. So okay, let me just show you the APIs, which as a DFSP, I will not integrate to everything on Mojaloop.
Okay.
I may integrate with, we have a multiple access API, say for fund transfer.
Got you.
Account utility.
Oh, I see. So, Henk, at your WSO2, we provide permissions to API calls and everything else.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is the WSO2 configuration saying this person can use that API. You're talking about API? Oh, okay.
So, this is bill payments. BBPS is bill payments.
No. Understood.
This is a loan. So I don't provide access to everything to everybody because it all depends. Everything is security control. It's all money. You're talking about money to everybody.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying now.
Okay.
I know what you're saying. Is to have how to phrase this.
I've put a box on the API access control configuration.
Yes.
Let's summarize it. Yeah. I was thinking of too much into detail again. Yeah.
You can do one thing. You can take this portal down, make a login for yourself. And this is how it would work, because a DFSP could integrate out of the whole 25 blocks of APIs, only 6. Because everything is financial control. You can have a license in every country. Giving loans is a licensed product.
Yeah.
So it all depends on licenses I have to work in a country. Like I want to do mobile money, mobile wallets. If I'm not licensed in a country, I cannot offer it out.
No, because you're not a financial service provider.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. That's the PISP side. PISP versus DFSP.
So, remittances. Am I allowed to do remittances? No. If I'm yes, then I can integrate over here.
But it's actually an important part that you've just mentioned, because when you've got a product and you have multiple implementations of that, the accessibility of that implementation, or what they actually pay for, what they actually bought, or what we actually deliver to them might vary.
Yes.
Okay.
So I could have,
let's take a simple thing like a financial front end. They might have their own financial front end, and they don't want to use what we offer them, but they want to use their own as an argument on that.
Okay, now they could have a small block of it. I want to still go and onboard customers. So I could come over here and work it out using. I have a module here called customer account validation, account utility.
Mm-hmm.
So when I onboard customers, I go and check the KYC first. This is my customer details. I want to onboard a customer. I have to go and check his KYC. Is he a right customer mapped to right bank account? Because I can come and say, I know my friend's bank account. I can give his bank account and onboard myself using his account.
Okay, the difference there though is that's more DFSP side.
So yeah, so I have to then put this together in the DF. I allow him to do account utility.
Yeah.
Or I, as a bank, could authorize a second partner and say, you can use my customers on my platform and give them loans, which means he can't do onboarding of customers. He can just do checking of customers.
Yeah, I don't think that's something that we offer, because we actually look at being the switch. So that account management in the example you're using, that would be specific to the DFSP, and that would be outside the scope of the switch. So how they onboard their physical customers and what accounts they use for that is it's transparent to us.
Because you have an ALS module also. It could be an ALS for a merchant. It could be an ALS for a customer.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have a customer who wants to become a merchant.
Mm-hmm.
Which means I have to do his KYC as a customer account first, check his bank account credentials and say yes, and remap him as my merchant.
Okay. That's the whole know your customer interface.
Yes.
But that's something that
you have ALS with you. I can use an ALS and remap him. I can use, you have ALS with you. So your basic KYC is done in the ALS.
That's normally done on the quote side already.
Yes, I'm using the basic KYC over there. I'm using basic ALS done over there. But remapping him I want to remap him to a loan customer. I'm giving him a loan.
Yeah, but we wouldn't. Okay, I think I understand what you're saying. I think what we've got to do is turn this into something that's Motorloop specific. So
okay, so let's go back onto your screen now. I just give you a small.
I understand the context now of what you're talking about, and that is the different. That's the various different portals, and it's the same thing. Is that you wouldn't give. So if you think of it as a groups and a permissions type thing, Henk. If you go back to go back into your screen sharing and pull up the
mine.
No, Henk. Yeah, you can just pull up the portal framework that we were going through and all the various portals.
Okay.
What we're talking about here is which pages it's this role, which portals can it access. So, for example, the DFSP finance management portal. And then the sub-layer below that, which page can they access? So just go to just that. So that's just saying that this person is being given access to which of these pages. So that role needs to be configured with a relevant.
Yes.
That's the high level. But then drilling down, you would have then
level first.
Yeah, but then you would drill down and say, okay, your super admin might have the ability to assign application onboarding pages, but the reason I've come here as well is that hierarchy of how you assign rights is part of what my thinking is on terms of role-based access control and that design structure that we have. But you're right, somebody at a DFSP level, when I do that first as a DFSP, you are not going to give a DFSP necessarily access to the auditing page, Henk.
Yeah.
So it's that what are the pages that you'd give certain DFSPs, and you wouldn't give certain pages. A PISP might not get a DFSP page because they are, depending on their hierarchy. So that differentiation of roles, I understand what Tarun's talking about, and I think I know what we need to flag. But I just need my brain to settle to be able to put that into some words. But what we need to do, what I'd like to do though, is say, okay, which is more important, DFSP management or application onboarding of these two? So if you can just jump to the customer facing page, slide 6. Yeah, that information, I don't believe we've got a lot of the data sets to actually put that in. So although that should be there, if you can jump to slide 8, I think the account management, no, sorry, slide, which is the account management, DFSP management internal. That DFSP management, that's the stuff that John and his team have to enter a lot of data now that's done via Postman currently. John, is that correct?
Yes, 100%.
Mm.
Did you hear me? Yes, 100%.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we would need a page that, if I now then get to a UI flow, and I'm going to change color downstream because most of the stuff so far is more the framework. And now we're moving to stories where we're actually getting into building. I'm going to put some stories in. It's not going to be a finance. Yes, it is a finance officer. I want to add the relevant account details. I like this approach. This is much better, by the way, Henk. We'll have to do this again, that you share, but somebody else types. That way, you know, typing mistakes, I've got at least a window of opportunity where people can't see it. I'm definitely liking this. So that's my page.
Okay, folks, it's evening for us, so just cheers.
That's all good. I'm still in water. I've got
So it's 7 o'clock in the evening, Friday evening.
Why am I getting this stupid page? Copy. Let me copy. Oh, I'm thankful.
So Rob, I think one other thing to capture there is the approvals process. So
I'm just doing that on my next slide.
Right, nice.
Your next sticky note.
Yeah. And then to remember that this would be multi-environment for each DFSP.
Oh, yeah. Knowledgeable
So
void of fraudulent DFSP.
At what stage do we need to get the DA's approval and the technical board's approval and those type of things?
Back here. That's
Master
that red
level.
box back there.
Master
This one.
level.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Now we're getting in. Now that's the framework. The pages themselves. That's that's into specific use cases.
That's detail.
Yeah, that's the product owner's job. In that context, that would be you and me and Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Working with tips to build those and with Mawali to build those initial, what do they look like? But that's your maker checker. I'm not sure if maker checker is sufficient. So we'll need to come back to
I think it's important at every point. At every point, we have to have a maker and a checker.
Yeah, I think we need
Okay, it's money. It's money.
You've got it here.
We need a process there.
That's what I was talking about when I was saying we need some kind of workflow, even for the approvals. We find that we need not just business or finance approval, but technical as well. How do we combine that into a combined approval for for whatever comes next.
So that synthetic role guidance and guidelines is here. That's that part there.
All right.
But
okay,
we need to get the input. But this is input, so I've got that to both those there. There we go.
The synthetic role is almost like a delegated role, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm talking about is not approval. Is not just approval is not just delegation as much as it is like a gate that says all prerequisites met, can proceed to next set of processes.
That's a workflow.
Yeah. Do we have any workflows catered for here yet? So let me give you a case in point. They've developed the APIs, connected to a sandbox. They've gone through the iterations and have passed API tests, security tests, successfully executed a transfer. And in that process, there were certain delegated or synthetic roles that were used by the operations team to facilitate that process. At the end, when they now have, they need to sort of certify or get an approval that they've met all prerequisites to be promoted to the next environment, there needs to be a business and technical joint approval saying all boxes ticked, they can now proceed to the next certification level. Is that something we need to cater for, or is that going to be handled in a different way?
I think that might be too heavy to start with. I think we need to understand it to make sure we don't build ourselves into a corner. But that's why I've got that security structure and workflow now for adding a DFSP. I want that process clear. So if there are approvals, even if we haven't got the pages to do that from day one, the structure is there and we know how to architect that in the future.
Right.
Okay.
Cool.
Once the access is granted, then it's the DFSP's responsibility. You know, once you give master rights, you say, this DFSP can do A, B, C, then it's under him, he can do what he wants. It's his own portal he creates. And he can create technical administration, MIS reporting, customer care, self-care, he can do what he wants.
Yeah, but that access control and those pages, we should have a clear view of what does the best practice look like within the same way as behind the scenes somewhere in your page, there's a security team that said, yeah, this flow works really well. Let's make that our default workflow. I want to know what does that look like in Moduloop.
Okay, I'd like to add one more point over here, is that when you create a DFSP, you know, his access rights, his logs must have an identifier to say it is this DFSP's transactions.
Yeah, that restriction we've already got in place.
You got, okay, then that's fine. That's fine. Because, you know, you go into a transaction table, I can only see my logs and not somebody else's logs. This identifier will control that then.
So I'm going to start putting, because we need to prove that that is working. So DFSP finance portal, I'm going to put earlier on because it's a rehash of an existing finance portal, Henk.
Mm. That makes sense, yeah.
I put the word "my" in capitals. Who's moving my stuff around? Is that you?
Me. Just structuring a bit, not much.
Can you see my
yeah.
That simple POC to confirm functionality? That's the POC there.
To my portal. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the Turon piece of it's my portal.
Yeah.
I don't want to see other people.
My logs.
The acceptance criteria only your. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So this flow here That flow there gives us the basic framework and proof of role-based access. This here gives us, the next one across, gives us the workflow. Proof of concept.
We also have to add to this, Henk, is whichever channel I'm authorized to use. If I have any identifier for that channel or an access credential for that channel, that has to be mapped to my access rights. Like say I do a Swift transfer. I have to have a Swift ID against my access credentials to use a Swift transfer. You got it?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm just trying to see how we can, how that would be applicable to what we're doing here.
No, it's the relevant configuration. So I do understand. I think that goes back to the earlier point.
Configuration file.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I could have my configuration parameters for an access channel.
Okay, I'm just going to start adding to the acceptance criteria. So I would imagine one of them is to have a functional POC.
Yeah. We forgot that early on in mid-PI. John, adding a hub of finance and validating it, that's probably quite a bit of work. But is there any other use case that you think, wow, my life would be so much easier if I had
that? Could you just bring up the slides you had? Was it yesterday?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, this.
Yeah.
What are you looking for, John?
There was might be this one.
Is there a diagram specific or?
Yeah, and actually it was one of these flow diagrams. Let's go back to 7.
I know I've added a page because I think it would be useful. It's just to maintain what that means. We'll need to flush out, but that, I think adding is one thing, but updating is the other page that I'm thinking of. That we take that page we've done earlier and we update it. I've just added a new story, Henk.
Okay.
I'm trying to think, if I, for example, contact details. Because some details you wouldn't want to be modified. You can't change the DFSP name. It's locked into the database. But contact detail.
That could change.
Okay, so how we do it out is some credentials are locked and some are unlocked.
And that's the part we've got to do is what is
his access IDs, his access credentials, his channel access. He can't change that.
Yeah. And the thing is, you could want a DFSP. The question is whether we want on the security flow, can you have the DFSP request a change and it then goes through the hub validation? So if I take as an example net debit cap, I'm going to request increase my net debit cap, decrease my net debit cap. Those changes.
That's a maker checker. That's a maker checker process.
But who makes and who checks might be different companies. Just because a DFSP wants their net debit cap changed doesn't mean the hub will accept that change. They might deem it too much of a risk. So again,
I'd even complicate it a bit, Rob, that the request to make the change is maker checker driven, and the execution of the change is also maker checker driven or controlled. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, then in this make a check, we call it a customer care or or a customer support query.
It depends on what it is. Yes, it could come in as a customer support query, but how it's executed in the hub might not be a standard customer support action because it's subject to some financial oversight, right?
Yeah, but also in this case, we must have an audit trail and
Yes,
a document upload. Who approved, who made it, who checked it out. That's very important.
Yeah.
A maker checker and a document upload and a comment box. That has to come in the master platform at the hub level.
And the logging of who's doing what. I think that's
a full audit trail.
A full audit trail is assumed as well. Yeah.
Yeah. But assumptions are dangerous unless you articulate them.
Okay. A comprehensive
the other thing that
on all maker checker activities.
The other thing that came to mind as you guys were talking about security as well is you don't want someone to create a profile or a role or add someone there. You've got to periodically actually re-verify those. In other words, you've got to have an expiry date, and if you don't verify it, it will expire.
Okay, so how we do it out is in our platform, we create a master account for a DFSP. Mm-hmm. Okay, we give him access. It's his job then to create his sub-accounts or sub-access levels as he wants to create some, an admin access, a technical access, a financial access. That's his job. At our level, we just create a master admin account for a DFSP and say his rights are on, channel A, channel B, channel C, documents uploaded to support channel A, channel B, channel C. That's it. We'll let him do what he wants to do.
No, that's exactly the idea. It's just empower them.
Yeah. If you want sometime next week, I can show you what we have done in India on a similar level. So we call them host and sub-hosts.
Okay.
And a host is given his master login. You have rights to do A, B, C, D. Do what you want. I don't care. Because you can't go into every DFSP's sub-levels. You can just do master DFSP.
We actually don't want to do that. I mean, if you can empower someone to take care of their own backyard, then by all means do that.
Yeah, why do it? Yeah, you can't do it. It's too much. Yeah. It's too much.
Okay. Yeah. I'm putting some comments on the security button, the security structure workflow for having a DFSP, audit trails, etc. I've put some comments into there on that blue box. There we go. Anything else you want to add?
As well as document upload.
Document upload.
Yes, because if I want to say an offer, a DFSP comes to me and say I want to do international money transfers. I need to see his license, keep a record of that license in my hub. Tomorrow, a country's regulator come and ask me, who is he? Documents given by you.
I think that would be stuff that I put into the next PI, but I'll put some notes onto there.
Yeah. So a document and also a tracking for document expiry date.
Okay. I've added some notes to that. Cool.
What do you classify as document? I'm just curious to know.
Could be a license, could be a license copy.
Okay.
Could be a registration.
It's not really a document, it's an artifact.
Authorization, okay, we call them authorization document, license documents.
Rob, that's interesting because sorry, go ahead, Arun.
No, sorry, you go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say that, for example, operational licenses for connected DFSPs, just to know that they are allowed to transact, and unless they update such, you might.
Yeah, I don't think we've got anything that can receive that today, though. That's my problem. I agree with the need, but I don't think the back end has any of that. I think what we're getting to here is that if we come back to this to the far left. Go left, Henk. That first dark green box.
Left.
No, not left like that. On this page. That validate operations API. Yeah. I think we've got some operational things missing in that API.
I can help you there. I can work it out for you. If you come on a call sometime next week, whenever.
Oh no, you just keep going back to the same point. You see that first comment that we've got on day 1 of next week? That's you, that is, Taron.
I show you what I've done. I can just show you.
You would add comments of what we need to discuss so we don't forget it. Sure.
A is documents. Document expiry date. Very important to add.
You could be lucky we're not in India, otherwise we might have to join you now.
Yeah,
with the sundown.
I'll give you a drink then. First is a good single malt first, and then we talk work.
Yeah, well, alcohol is banned in South Africa at the moment because of the virus and the lockdown and everything. So
yeah, in India, at home it's allowed.
Well, we can't even buy. They called the barman. No, can't. They didn't even call last round. They just said, on Saturday, by the way, from Monday, no more sales. That's it.
You know what, Taron? I'm going to ask. We're going to do this a little bit more. I'm going to put in here at the end of. Henk, I'm going to get you to go away and do some homework as well.
Yeah.
I've got an output, a comparison here.
Who's typing away? Where are you typing?
Oh, wait.
Typing anywhere.
I've just now resolved this thing. Where's it gone to? The other note.
Are you all based in Johannesburg or Nairobi? Or UK?
I'm just, Rob is in the
Cambridge
UK. I'm in what's the name?
So you're in Johannesburg, Henk. You're in Johannesburg.
Yeah,
Henk.
just
where you live.
Joburg. It's literally
John
Victoria.
lives in Nairobi. Well, currently does. He's about to move out.
I'm in Nairobi. Yeah.
Yeah, he used to be in South Africa.
But I have a house in Amsterdam, so yeah, welcome to Motorsports. We don't live anywhere.
I'm in New Delhi.
Right.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Rob, I've just killed your note over here. There was a note.
You deleted my note?
No, I clicked on it and this blooming thing
clicked
clicked
on resolve
instead of closing it. So
Why?
where's it gone to?
Henk, you've resolved it. It's gone.
It shouldn't be.
There's an undo button. You see that rollback button, bottom right-hand corner of that blue box?
Yeah.
Yeah, click on that, please. God, dodgy individual.
I am. So what's bringing up is this.
Oh dear. Let me go into that in a second. Let me just finish what I'm writing. Okay. Right.
Back now?
No, it's not. I'm going to go back into there. It's
Oh wait, maybe I can just undo and there we go. Got it back. Don't worry. There we go.
Okay, good. Okay,
yeah.
I think we've done a lot there, guys. You look at you zoom back out and look at our board, compare it to other people. We're busy, and we're very front-loaded. Yeah, which is why I want to keep the back end quite light.
I think we've got a lot to try and do in the first 2 sprints, and then we'll probably have to roll over and then get back here. So what we do need is some objectives still. I'll put in one there for a POC. Risks we've got here, and then a confidence vote.
Where's my navigator gone? Okay, so you want the PI objectives. So you've got.
I've got a.
Can you also add frameworks and guidance? So frameworks and guidance on all the things. If you scroll back to the left, you'll see that there's some guidelines, guidance on flow to add configs pages. So that page there. So I think what I'm trying to say there at the objective level is, developer guidelines or whatever we want to call them for building and adding to the existing portals.
Okay. But then these greens are actually objectives midstream.
Yeah, but that's fine. But those two things are. I want to summarize those green boxes in another objective. Everyone's obsessed that you have to achieve the objectives by the end of the process. You can have midstream objectives as well, Henk.
I like that because it's just a check of progress.
Yeah, it means you're not, rather than waiting until the end, we're meant to be, trying to get a bit more agile. Right, is everyone going to put a vote on it based on what we've done so far and the fact we've got 0 developers?
Okay, we also need to add the function for disable a DFSP. A is you say allow access, and then a temporary put on hold or then even disable. We got to put that functionality in also.
I don't want to put too much in because we've not got many developers in here.
I think we're going to put that as a risk.
Okay.
Lack of developers. Actually, we can do that as one. Oh, wait, let's leave it at 2.
Approved guidance on the security and structure. I think that on security, guidance on security and auditing. On security and auditing.
Yeah.
That covers both. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Then we can actually get this one out.
Yeah.
No,
leave that. No, that's fine. Leave those 3. There's the 3 objectives. I think that's a lot.
It is a lot. Agreed.
We might have more delivered, but I don't want to put more.
I think we've got a lot. We've got more than enough to bite off in this little PI here.
Consolidation testing pizza party.
Where's
risks meant to be? No, risks are meant to be red. Are they meant to be red? What colours are risks? They haven't given us a colour for risks. I'm going to turn them red then.
Yeah. There's one thing I'd like to do, but I don't know if it's possible. How can we get this stuff to be data-driven?
Instead of having
to create, okay, so instead of having rules, normally everything is driven by a set of rules that it's clever enough to identify the data and then drive it by that. I think the concept is a bit, don't know if we'd be able to do that.
Don't know what you mean by that. Let's pick it up in the discussions with the devs. Yeah. I'm thinking out a bit more, but I think we're done.
Okay, there's a lot.
If you zoom out compared to everybody else's.
Yeah, I did zoom out. Let me zoom out again. This is us. So we've got a lot here.
Yeah, a lot more than other people with devs in. Sorry, me.
Well done, Rob. Thanks for typing.
That's all right. Cool. Okay, when are we meant to reconvene? Do we know? Mr. Chris.
Wait, Douglas also is here. Douglas, get up, wake up.
I just joined in late.
You're sleeping. You're too late.
I joined in late from another workstream.
So Douglas, do you want us to do a quick whistle stop, or you logged in and you can see everything and you're happy?
I'm happy.
I don't think he's got the link. Oh, you've got. There we go. So I can zoom out for you again. Or zoom in.
No, I got to see this. I've been here for the last 5-10 minutes.
Okay.
You sneaked in by the back door.
Yeah, I was in the PISP stream.
Okay. So we've got quite a lot of things that we do want to achieve in this. Okay, we've got a 4.
That's mine. We've not done a vote. I put 4. Anybody else not like 4? It's all right, Chris.
Okay.
I'll ask you to come back in to see if we knew what time. We know it's past. We went elsewhere. You're fired.
I'm putting 4.1.
4.1. I'm gonna call it the 3.9, and you get to a 4 still.
So I give the example was where we entered college, engineering college about 30 years ago, and I said, fresher, count 1 to 10. He says, it's simple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He says, no, 1, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Get counting now.
Okay, it's like in Cambridge, Warren was telling us they've got a joke there. When they go to university and they write a test there, it's or exam or whatever, they like, don't worry, it's a very easy test. It's only 10. It's only 10 questions, and 5 hours later they walk out. Something similar. Yeah, just because there's 10 questions doesn't mean it's easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you made a measure of all, okay, work first.
Yeah, so we are supposed to join
in half an hour.
Half an hour. Okay. So I don't know if there's anything else that we can add here, or we can take a half an hour break and then join the other session.
Good base. It's a good base build.
You've just got to take a screenshot of this, Henk, and take it to Joe in the next half an hour and say, Joe, there's your roadmap. All good?
No, she's going to swear at you.
No.
Well, me in this case if I go to her, but...
Yeah, no, that's why I'm sending you, not me.
Okay. I'm going to do definitely going to do a screenshot of this. I'm just going to figure out how I'm going to do it so that it is legible.
If you zoom in and do PI by PI, or even copy it to a new board or ask for a duplicate, you can export.
That's okay. I'll quickly do that.
Okay.
Okay,
cool.
Wonderful.
Then we shall go. See you all back in a half an hour. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your input.
Cheers.
Thanks, Rob, for typing.
Thank you very, very
Taron,
much.
nice meeting you.
Thank you. My pleasure. See you.
Okay, we'll set up a meeting to do the other stuff. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.